Let me do it, got this.
Okay.
It's often been said, buddy, that all politics are local, right? I'd like to get down a little local. There are 75,000 veterans in the first district. Of those 75, 1,725 of them are considered the most severely disabled. I don't know if you remember John Thomas, but he has been to many of these meetings. This represents John today. He's home in a veteran's home because he has cancer. There are 2 VA programs that are for severely disabled veterans only. The first being the caregiver program. That act was passed in 2010. The problem with it was that it was a discriminatory piece of legislation. It went against the Civil Rights Act of 1964. It went against the Americans with Disabilities Act of 1990 and the following amendments. John Thomas cannot have access to the caregivers grant because he is a pre-9/11 veteran. That is the majority of the veterans. The Caregivers Act of 2010 was only for post-9/11 veterans. John told me that he didn't want to die in a nursing home. Fortunately, there's a veteran who took him into their house, and he's going to have his wish not to die in a nursing home. You'll see he's getting down to his last days. And I'm speaking for him and the other 1,725 severely disabled veterans. 2 years ago, we asked you at a meeting in Hinesville when Johnny Isaacson was there about some action on the Caregivers Act and the Independent Living Program. That's another program for the severely disabled veterans only. You were a candidate then. We gave you a white paper and said, buddy, we're in trouble. Veterans are in trouble. You said, get me elected and I'll get this done. Donald Singleton and I met you in Pooler in February of 2015, gave you another briefing and says, I'll get my people on this right away. Nothing happened for a long period of time. Judd and I discussed it. Nick and I have started passing traffic. We need assistance. Johnny has proposed the Veterans First Act.
Yes.
In the Senate. And nothing came out of your office until I got a word from Nick that said, oh, well, Johnny submitted this. According to U.S. government, GovTrack.us, the prognosis of passing is only 36%. So have you or will you submit companion legislation in the House? We don't need all the ifs, ands, or buts that he talks about in firing people. We need one piece of legislation that says repeal the Caregivers Act of 2010. Let's stop being discriminatory for our older veterans.
Right. Bruce, you're absolutely right. We tried. We tried to work within the system to see if we could go through that path to make it work, and it didn't work. It did not work when we tried to follow the rules that the VA was telling us to follow. And we've worked on many cases. Our staff has completed over 800 cases for veterans since we've been in office in 18 months. But what we've learned is that it does not work when you try to go through the system. That if we're going to get something achieved, it's going to have to be achieved legislatively. And that's what we're doing now. Nick is my military guy, and you and he have been in constant contact through emails. I know that y'all are communicating, and we are going to work on it legislatively now. I have met numerous times with Jeff Miller from Florida, who is chair of the VA committee, the Veterans Committee in the House. And Jeff is a good man who wants to do a good job and is trying to do a good job. He's as frustrated as you are. He's as frustrated as I am. We understand now that it's going to take more than just working within the system. We are going to have to fix this legislatively. And this is one of my goals.
Buddy, the Caregivers Act is cut and dry. It's legislation, right? It was legislation that when all members of Congress in the House and the Senate unanimously voted for it, they violated 2 standing pieces of legislation.
Right.
So the only way to change that is for you to put in a companion bill to Veterans First and say, repeal Caregivers Act of 2010 and make it equal for all vets. Okay, now, the independent living program is another program,
Absolutely, I'm
right?
familiar with it.
And that one you can work within the system, because what VA has done with that program is they have taken their guidelines, they took the federal statutes, they took their guidelines, and they manipulated their guidelines so that it's nothing. Last year, there's a $2,700 per year cap on independent living program throughout the nationwide, right? You've got 1,700 in your district.
Right.
There's no reason why you can't meet with Amy Thompson and say, Amy, I want all 1,700 of mine done this year and next year, right?
I hear you.
And they're using the guidelines, which are against statutes, as reasons to deny veterans this benefit. One of your newsletters said you went out to the mall. You did the 22 push-up,
Yes.
right? For the 22 veterans a day that commit suicide,
That's exactly right.
right? I know for fact that the independent living program prevents suicide. I can attest to that personally.
Okay.
As well as Donald.
Make sure you get this one. Okay. Thank you.
You need, we don't need, John Thomas doesn't have another 2 years.
I understand that. I understand.
We can't wait for you another 2 years,
Okay.
buddy.
Fair enough.
Thank you.
Bruce.